But April 1st, just about a week ago, we launched the enhancements to the PC Plus program that makes it even easier for others to discover the benefits and experience the amazing benefits that Lifewave products have to offer. Last week, the North America team was doing a 5-city Canada roadshow in the Great White North there, hosted by the North American team. And they were so busy that they went straight to Punta Mita for the regional incentive trip for North America. Also upcoming, Bali, Indonesia for the APAC region incentive trip is April 28th through May 1st. For EMEA, Croatia, May 8th through 12th. We have had a record number of people qualify for these incentive trips. So congratulations to everyone who will be there. Unfortunately, I won't get to be at one of these beautiful locations, but please send photos and messages to all of us that are here behind. Also, one more announcement. The conference planning for 2025 is still underway. This will already be the largest gathering in Lifewave's history. It's an event you don't want to miss. I am so excited about the entertainment, the product information that's scheduled to be shared, the exciting announcements, and this event is filling up really fast. So make sure you go and reserve your spot to be at this event. Again, it is something you don't want to miss. I also want to thank everybody for the incredible questions during the last Lifewave Connect, the responses that we've had since then to learn more about the X2O water technology, the incredible studies that have been done. And today we're going to continue the product discussion with some exciting information around the benefits and more findings on the great product X39. And we're going to get to hear from the product inventor himself, our founder and chairman of the board, David Schmidt. David, are you there?
Hey, Wayne, great to see you.
Yes, you as well, David. I am excited to now pass the mic. I have been anxiously waiting when I learned the topic for this month. I can't wait to learn more about this hero product. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic and start taking some notes.
Well, not so fast.
Okay.
Not so fast. The first thing is I want to thank everyone for their patience, because that was kind of a weird start to the webinar. So I appreciate everyone hanging around while we work through that technical glitch. But before you go, I wanted to say congratulations to you, your entire team. Of course, congratulations to Meredith and our entire staff. We just won 2 awards from the DSN, and it's incredible to get this recognition. But of course, we always want to give credit where credit is due. And if it wasn't for our leaders and our brand partners, we wouldn't be where we are today. So, this is a true victory for the community. We're the fastest growing network marketing company in the world. We broke the top 25. So many great things going on, and just extraordinarily grateful to our brand partners that have put us in this position now.
Yeah, thank you, David, for bringing that up. That should have been my first mention here. But I do want to say to you and everybody here on the webinar, it was such an honor to be at the Direct Selling University, which is the largest gathering of direct selling companies. But it was such an honor to be there to represent you, your vision, and to represent all of the incredible brand partners. We were there with Meredith, we were there with Janine, and so many others. And you're right. And you received an incredibly prestigious award, the Innovator Award. Lifewave itself received the Bravo Growth Award, which is for being the fastest growing direct selling company in the world. And as you mentioned, Lifewave hit number 22 in the largest 100 direct selling companies in the world. And it was really cool to have you there, beam in to accept the Innovation Award. And we were all there in the audience cheering you on. But again, I appreciate all that you've done, all that you have brought to the world in the form of Lifewave and these products. And it was such an honor to represent you and all of the brand partners there.
Well, Wayne, I want to make an announcement now. I've teased this for a while, but I want to make an announcement with you, and we're going to be getting this on social media. But as you said, we took advantage of our hologram technology. So we had a hologram unit in Dallas, and I was over in Denmark, and I beamed in as a hologram to take the Innovation Award from Stuart Johnson. It was tremendous fun, and it demonstrates the power of the technology. And we want all of our brand partners to have access to this tech so that, you know, whether or not you're in the United States, you're in Europe, Asia, and you want to build a business in another part of your country or another country, you can beam in as a hologram or as an avatar and give a presentation. This is the revolution that's coming in our industry with this type of technology. But what I wanted to share with everyone before getting into this incredible clinical study that we have on X39, which plays directly into the launch of the X2O water machine, is there was a reason why I was in Denmark, because the following week I was over in Paris. And what I'm going to do is share screen. And my wife and I had the honor of being part of King Frederick's state visit to France. And we're just making this announcement now, and it's going to be, we're going to send it out on social media. But this was to share our humanitarian program on our drones. And I want to share with you for a minute what this means to you and how you're going to benefit from it. So going back to January, I had the honor of giving a technology presentation to His Royal Highness Prince Joachim of Denmark. And that was phenomenal. He got incredibly excited about this, about what we're doing with our drones. And as a result of that presentation going so well, I was invited to be part of King Frederick's state visit to Paris. This was absolutely incredible. I got a chance to see King Frederick speak, as well as President Macron. And I even had the opportunity to meet the king and give him a presentation on what we're doing with our drone program. We also, let me see here. We also accompanied the king on a tour. And it was, you know, one of these experiences you remember for the rest of your life, being able to meet someone. And I will tell you, he's just an incredible person and extraordinarily likable. And I even told him a joke that he laughed at. So, but this is all to say, you know, what are we doing with our drone program? Well, we're partnering with a variety of different organizations. As you know, we make donations to the Red Cross, we make donations to Convoy of Hope, and the day that we're going towards is when we get approval from governments all over the world where we can use our drone technology to deliver patches to people that are in need. And this is going to be an absolute first in the direct selling industry. This will build awareness about Lifewave, and people that have never heard of Lifewave before, their first experience is going to be getting patches to relieve pain, reduce stress, provide a good night's sleep after having been in an emergency situation, and what have you. These are the types of things we're doing to build past the usual limitations of the direct selling industry. So we're doing many projects like this, but it was incredible to get so high up in the Danish government and get this recognition. So there's a lot more to come, but I wanted to share that. Okay, so you've been patiently waiting. Let's go on and get into it now on this new X39 study. Now, X39, of course, is our lead product. And Steve and Gina Merritt and various other leaders that have had astonishing success in Lifewave will tell you that this should be the product that you lead with. Keep it simple, and you'll be able to build and have a successful business. And when we come out with the X2O water machine in July, there's this phenomenal synergy between the patches and this water technology. So we're going to get into that a little bit, but this webinar is mostly focused on the results of this brand new study. It was performed by NIS Labs. We had the privilege of working with 2 PhDs up at the lab on the study, and they were absolutely blown away by the results. Now, the reason why we focus on looking at mitochondrial function is because aging is directly associated with how well your mitochondria works. The mitochondria is the power generation part of the cell. It's what converts food to energy. And as you age, the amount of energy your cells produce declines. And remarkably, what's been found is that if you can rejuvenate the mitochondria, you get the cells in your bodies to start looking and acting like younger, healthier cells. Many people that use X39 have experienced what we call youth renewal. In other words, when you have a healthy diet, you have your proper nutrition, you're getting proper sleep, you're exercising, drinking water, staying away from bad habits. When you use X39, you start to look and feel physically younger. We have lots of cases like this. So the question is, why is this happening? Well, we're going to take a look at that today. So the purpose of this study is we wanted to find out what happens within the first few hours of wearing X39 on mitochondrial function and inflammatory stress in the body compared to a placebo, as well as what happens over the course of a month. And the findings are fascinating. So this was a double-blind, placebo-controlled study, and this was with 12 adults between ages 40 and 75. So the type of outcome we want to look at is what happens to the amount of energy in the cell. If we can increase the amount of energy that the cell is producing, we can get the cells to start acting like younger, healthier cells. And then, of course, this is our goal. We want youth renewal. We want to stop and reverse human aging. So these are important studies. We also want to look at the inflammatory process. Now, inflammation gets a bad rap. We usually associate it with something negative. But we need inflammation to tear down old tissue in the body or damaged tissue so we can make way for new healthy tissue. So we need a degree of inflammation. The problem, though, is that as we age, it becomes more and more difficult for our bodies to remove this inflammation. And there's even a term associated with it today called inflammaging. And this just simply means that as we age, the amount of inflammation in the body goes up. So anything that we can do to reduce inflammation, we can improve our health span and our lifespan. When we have too much inflammation in the body, when it's chronic, strands of DNA can break. The stem cells die in the presence of inflammation. So you start to lose the ability to heal from injury. We also want to look at something called CRPs, which are C-reactive proteins. This is an inflammatory marker produced in the liver, and it's associated with a number of disease states. Again, it's a naturally occurring inflammatory compound. It serves a purpose in the body, but if it hangs around chronically, that's a problem for our health. So these were blood tests that were done, and we wanted to look again at these inflammatory markers and anti-inflammatory markers. And cytokines, by the way, are important because stem cells are attracted to inflammatory cytokines. So in other words, this is a test where we can start to determine how well are the stem cells going to work in the body. Excuse me. And then, as I mentioned, we're looking at C-reactive protein. Another test that we want to look at, pardon me, is mitochondrial resilience. So what this means is that if you take the cells and you take the mitochondria and you subject them to an oxidative or inflammatory stress, how well is the mitochondria going to perform? Now, if the antioxidant system in the body is working well, then the mitochondria should have resistance to oxidative chemicals and inflammatory chemicals and still survive and do their job and produce energy. But if your antioxidant system is depleted, the mitochondria will fail in the presence of oxidative and inflammatory stress. And that's obviously a really bad thing. So that's an important test. Now, the health and function of the immune system can also be correlated with biological age. So one of the things that we did was we studied 3 different types of immune cells, 3 different types of leukocytes in this study to look at what happens to the health and the vitality of the immune system when we're using X39. So part of the results here was that not only did we see results, but they were rapid and they were also sustained over time. So one of the important findings is that when you wear X39, there's an immediate improvement in mitochondrial volume in the lymphocytes. So what does that mean? The lymphocytes are an immune cell. It's a type of white blood cell. And the mitochondria are what produce energy. And what we're talking about here is that the number of mitochondria in the cell increases when you use X39. So in other words, you put on X39 and you're increasing the ability of your immune cells to make more energy. And that's going to come in handy if your body wants to resist disease. We're only talking about general wellness. We're not making any disease claims, but we want a healthy, vital immune system. So the basis for this is improving energy. Put on X39, we get more energy being produced in the white blood cells. Also in the monocytes, again, another type of white blood cell used to fight things like viral infections. Monocytes are also involved in tissue repair. Within 2 hours of applying X39, we see an increase in the number of mitochondria in the monocytes. Same thing with the neutrophils. Again, another type of immune cell. Within the first 2 hours, we get an increase in the number of mitochondria, again, resulting in an increase in the total amount of energy that these cells can produce and utilize. So the increase in mitochondrial volume reached a high level of significance at 2 hours. So this is incredible, that just within the first 2 hours of use, we already get statistical significance. So here's some important things that happened, and we want to look at this so we can understand what's going on with X39. How is it helping to support the overall healing process? Many people that use X39 find, wow, I have an injury from 10 years ago, and it's healing over a period of 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. How is that possible? Well, we're ramping up the amount of energy in the cell, and then it's going to go back and normalized once that injury is repaired or the body has fought an infection. So we also see this trend over 4 weeks, is that we're increasing the energy in the cell, increasing the electrical potential of the cell, and then when it's the X39 has done its job, body starts to reach homeostasis again. And we see this trend here. And we see that again in the monocytes, and we see that in the neutrophils. So to visualize this, yeah, I'll show you on this slide. Again, when we're saying increased mitochondrial volume, it's the number of mitochondria in the cell. And this is one of the ways you can increase mitochondria in the muscle tissue is through resistance training. So this is a survival mechanism. You do something like lift weights, and in order for, if you exert yourself, you break the muscle tissue down, and now you've got more mitochondria that are being stimulated to grow in the muscle tissue so the muscle can do more work. And this is an anti-aging mechanism. So we see that just using X39 and increasing copper peptide is enough of a stimulus to produce this anti-aging effect. Now, here's some other things that are super important. We're all faced with stress today, from long work hours, from pollution, not having a healthy diet, and we need to be able to have the ability to withstand that stress so we're not getting sick, and also long term, we can increase our lifespan. Now, oxidative chemicals play an important role in the body's immune system. As a matter of fact, oxygen therapies are used to treat viral infections, and they're used to treat diseases like cancer. So if you're someone listening and you've been suffering with in any stage of cancer, I would highly recommend you look at treatments like ozone therapy, hyperbaric oxygen, hydrogen peroxide, because oxygen radicals directly destroy cancer cells. This has been known for decades. But if normally what happens in the cell is when the immune system produces ozone or hydrogen peroxide, your antioxidant system is there to prevent the oxygen radical from damaging healthy tissue. So again, if your antioxidant system is depleted, those oxidative radicals, the oxidative stress, will damage healthy tissue. And that's going to affect the way your body produces energy. So I think that's probably pretty clear. So what we found in this study is that wearing the X39 patch was associated with an increase in the mitochondria's ability to resist oxidative stress. That's fantastic. Yet another benefit of X39. And of course, these results were statistically significant as compared to the placebo. And I'm going to go, this started out, by the way, as an 82 slide PowerPoint. I had to cut that down to about half. So I know you're all going to have a lot of questions, and I'm going to try to get through this. It's a ton of information, but it's super interesting. But we see here, consistent with the other studies that we've done. So for example, when we've done studies and we draw blood, we see within the first day of using X39 that we get statistically significant increases in copper peptide. Here, this study reflects those other studies, that we see an improvement in the function of the immune cells in the body the very first day of wearing X39, and this continues out through the first month of using X39. This was a 4-week study. And this is just going to be an example. If we see placebo at the green line and X39 is the yellow line. This is showing an increase in the ability to resist oxidative stress. And this is showing how oxidative stress induces changes in mitochondrial volume. So, in other words, when our bodies are subjected to stress, one of the ways that our body deals with this is to produce antioxidants like glutathione and SOD to help manage those oxidative chemicals. The only way we can make intracellular antioxidants is if we have the energy to do that. And the way to increase energy output is to increase the number of mitochondria. So that's why when your body is subjected to oxidative stress, you use X39, and now the cell has an increase in the capacity to generate more energy to resist the oxidative stress. And here we see, again, compared to placebo, in X39 on mitochondrial volume in the monocyte immune cells. And oxidative stress volume in monocytes when using X39. And again, compared to a placebo, but this time looking at the neutrophils. So we can see that this affected all three types of white blood cells. And again, mitochondrial volume in the neutrophils after using X39. Okay. Now that was the oxidative stress. What about inflammatory stress? Well, we're going to see the same thing, that wearing X39 increases mitochondrial volume, and this is going to have a benefit on reducing inflammation. So this is important because if you have an old injury that hasn't been healing, the first thing that we need to do is get your inflammation under control. There will be let's say that you have an injured knee. You'll have inflammatory cytokines around the knee to attract stem cells. But if you don't have antioxidants to reduce that inflammatory stress, the stem cells are going to die when they get to the site of the inflammation. This is why we recommend using the Eon patch with X39, because Eon is a broad spectrum anti-inflammatory. But X39 also helps to manage inflammatory stress. But it just so happens that X39 and Eon together, incredibly powerful. And again, here we're seeing statistically significant results within an hour or two. So this means that if you're working with a customer, someone that's interested in being a brand partner, you apply the patch. Many people are going to start to feel a benefit immediately, others within the first 1 to 2 hours. So that's important information. And these results continue through the first month of using X39. And of course, we know that it continues to work after that. Okay, and then again, not to be redundant, but these graphs are going to reflect what we saw with the oxidative stress, is that X39 improves mitochondrial function and resistance to inflammation. Okay, and there we go. This is the change over from baseline to week 4 on the monocytes, and baseline week 4 on the neutrophils. Okay, so to wrap up, what does this all mean? Well, in simple terms, when you wear X39, it's going to improve the function of the immune system. And it's going to help to balance out the inflammatory process. We don't want to eliminate inflammation. We need inflammation so we can clear the way to making healthy tissue. X39 helps to balance the inflammatory response. according to NIS labs, this is not a Lifewave claim. According to NIS labs, this would lower the risk for chronic inflammatory disease. We're a general wellness product. We don't make that claim. That was the conclusion of the PhDs that did the study, but we're not making that claim. Also, they believe that this would reduce oxidative damage over time. So, in other words, X39 helps to keep us healthy. And if we're reducing and managing oxidative inflammatory stress, this is in fact slowing down the aging process. That was their conclusion. So, another important finding here before we go to questions. This is a very powerful age reversal effect where we see X39 increasing mitochondrial membrane potential. I don't have the time to get into this right at the moment, but there is a strong correlation between the age of a cell and its voltage potential, because it's the capacity of that cell to do work. So here they used a technique to measure mitochondrial membrane potential. And again, compared to a placebo, we see that X39 increases the electrical potential of the cell. It starts to get a little bit complicated, so we're not going through the whole thing, but when we get an increase in membrane potential, that also reduces our risk of inflammatory stress. So this all kind of connects together. I'm going to show you on this graph here, I think that's a little bit easier, is that what we see over time is that the volume of the mitochondria improves and we get this energy transfer occurring between the membrane potential and the number of mitochondria. But effectively what this means is that as you're wearing X39 over time, you're increasing the capacity that your body has to defend itself and also to heal. That's effectively what this means. Also decreases in C-reactive proteins. High levels of CRPs are indicative of infection and disease. So if we can manage our CRP levels, we can improve our overall health. Again, we're not making any claims we prevent disease. And of course, this what happened is you apply X39, and within the first 2 hours, there is a statistically significant improvement in levels of CRP, so they reduce. And CRPs further reduce over time, over the period of the 4 weeks. So it shows that X39 is helping to balance the body's immune response. We can see that people that didn't use anything, they used the placebo, had an increase in C-reactive proteins over time. Those people that use X39 had a decrease in CRPs, and it was very, very high, 25% decrease. That's massive. And then again over the period of the 4 weeks. Okay, so final conclusions on this study is that what we can say based on statistical significance is that X39 is increasing the number of mitochondria in the cell. This increases the overall capacity of the cell. And in this particular case, this is improving the immune response, but we also know this improves the way the body heals, and it's getting the inflammatory and oxidative stress markers under control, and that improves our health span and our lifespan. So Wayne, overall, one of the most important studies that we've done. Now, I want to tie this into X2O for a moment, because what we find with the water machine is that this also improves mitochondrial function, it improves protein synthesis, it improves our cognition, in overall health, along with benefits that we've talked about now for the past few product trainings. So these products perfectly complement one another.
David, incredible results from this new study. I'm just going to share a couple of my favorite comments so far, if that's okay. The first was technology-based miracles. I loved that. And just in reading all the benefits that people or their loved ones have experienced using X39 and the other products. Another one that, maybe is closer to my heart. If X39 is Batman, Eon is Robin. So talking a little bit,
I love that.
using a DC, maybe not Marvel, but using a DC.
So that would make the X20 would be Aquaman then, I guess.
I think that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but can you talk a little bit about why these continued studies are so important to your approach of innovation and discovery? Some companies will do one initial study, maybe no studies, but might do something in the beginning and then they just kind of stop. But you've continued to do studies to validate. Can you share the motivation behind that?
Yeah, there's a lot of motivation. First, we want to make our company bulletproof so that if someday we got visited by the FDA or the FTC, you only need to have one clinical study showing that your product works. But I don't want to have just one study. I want to have 10 studies, 15, 20 studies so that we can put up a defensive wall around the company and we never have to worry about anybody saying that your product doesn't work. And so we've got over a dozen studies now on X39, and we've got many, many more that are in process. The other thing, of course, is that we continue to learn more and more about these products, and that allows us to optimize them. So when we know, for example, that X39 is having this powerful effect on the leukocytes, then we can say, well, gee, we might be able to put together a nutritional formula that would complement this mechanism of action, and now people could use this in a way to improve the health of their immune system. So that's another way of doing it. And then also, our ultimate goal is to stop and reverse the human aging process. And it's this continual process of innovation and discovery that led to the X2O technology. And, we're certainly not done yet. So the more research that we do, the more doors we open, the more we can create new technology and eventually reach the goal that we have of stopping and reversing human aging.
Amazing. One of the things that always is so inspiring as I learn more and more about each product with every study that comes out is just how quickly these products take effect. Can you share a little bit more about why X39? It was amazing, the study results, how it not only continued, but there's sustained impact, but just how rapid those benefits are felt in the body. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, we did studies, going back many years now, and in the late 2000s, we used a technology called the electroacuoscope. that was one technology. We also use a suite made by a company called Thought Technology. And we see that when you apply the patches to the body, there's measurable changes that occur within the first 10 seconds. This was one of the researchers, Dr. Tom Budzinski, brilliant scientist, saw within seconds there was a balancing of the autonomic nervous system when applying Eon. That's incredible. That means, so what does this mean in practice? It means that when people are suffering in pain, you apply X39, Eon, Icewave, and people can get relief of pain within seconds of application. And we've seen this, of course, over the years. It means that when someone is suffering and you apply X39, the healing process starts immediately. You don't have to wait for a vitamin to get digested or build up in your system. And the fundamental reason for this is our bodies use light for communication. We have light coming from the hydrogen bonds in our DNA, highly coherent pulses of light that initiate thousands of biochemical changes in the cells. This is the way God created us. So it makes all the sense in the world to use light as medicine and to use light for maintaining our wellness.
Phenomenal. Why do you feel that X39 is the starting point? It's the entry point. It's the foundational product that, a lot of the others build on. Why is that such a foundational place to start?
X39 is by far the most powerful product that we have. And as I want to give Dr. Lauren Picard credit for this, because if he hadn't done his work over a period of more than 40 years, we wouldn't be here talking today. Dr. Lauren Picard, incredible scientist. I had the privilege of communicating with him. And essentially, what he discovered over decades was that copper peptide is able to reset about 1/3 of the human genome back to a more youthful state.
Wow.
And this means that X39 can help to improve our cellular energy, manage inflammation, manage oxidative stress, improve immune health, of course, mobilize the stem cells in the body. It can do all these amazing things because at its very core, it's getting the cells to function like younger, healthier cells. So by far, X39 is our most powerful product in that regard.
Amazing, and why it's such a great starting point. There were some specific questions around usage and protocol. So as someone starting out, are they okay just to kind of jump in and wear it for a full day? Is it better to, slowly ease into it and wear it for, a few hours or X number of hours? How does someone best get started with X39?
Depends on the individual. If someone is generally healthy, they could apply X39 behind the neck, below the belly button, and go about their day, and they'll be just fine. And one of the things they'll notice is many people start to get sleepy at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And people that wear X39 feel this constant, stable levels of energy and then are able to sleep better. And we have, of course, studies that show that we're getting an increase in GABA in the brain when people have used X39 during the day, and that promotes relaxation. Interestingly enough, GABA also increases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and that is a control mechanism for the stem cells in the brain. That's a different story. So now, if someone is not healthy, let's say someone is a smoker or they're drinking too much, they may get a powerful detox effect from wearing X39, which is great. So, but it may initially give them a headache or maybe they feel sluggish. So they could remove X39, drink lots of water, and then restart the next day. So really depends on a person's age, general state of health. Are they using pharmaceutical drugs? Some people may need to ease into it. Most people use it 8-10 hours their first day and they're okay.
So on the other side of that coin, as someone starting out, someone that's been on the patch for a while, one of the questions that just came up, is there any benefit to applying multiple X39, not just different patches, but multiple at the same time, or is it better just to keep to kind of the one per day?
I recommend people use one per day. And the reason is because these phenomenal results that we see with the studies, people are only wearing one patch. So I think a better way to go about it would be to start with X39 first, wear that for a month, notice the benefits that you're experiencing, and then if you wanted to add another patch, you certainly could. If someone has, let's say, arthritis, they have some type of chronic pain, then maybe you could start with X39 and Eon, so you get the best pain management effect with that. And in that protocol, it's simple. You just put X39, again, behind the neck, and you could put Eon at the point of pain or Eon below the belly button. So it's really up to the individual, but there's very few instances where you use more than one of the same patch. There are instances where it's beneficial, but X39, one patch is okay.
Thank you for that. There were also some questions just around placement, optimal placement for X39 and other patches. Maybe a starting point, but also there was a couple of questions. If there's a wound, if there's a skin issue, do you place it near? Do you just stick to the same placement positions? Where should people, start with patch placement?
Yeah, the beauty of this is the simplicity. Is in these blood tests, people were wearing X39 either behind the neck or below the belly button, but when you draw the blood, you see these increases systemically. So the patch placement, by and large, is not as important. Now, so I would say, again, X39 behind the neck, below the belly button is fine. Now, if someone had an injury, let's say they have a bad knee, a bad shoulder, I'd still put X39 at one of those points, but I might add an Eon or a glutathione patch to the point of pain where the injury is. And that works extremely well, and of course, it's very, very simple.
Great. There were a couple questions on maybe some future studies, and obviously duration is an issue or has an impact. Are you looking at doing any of these longer term studies on 6-month benefits, 12 months benefits? Or are you able from these individual studies to extrapolate those results over time?
Well, we've done studies on X39 that have been a year. And we didn't release that study because it would have involved making medical claims. So we elected not to release the study, but we did do studies that were a year in length, and we found fantastic benefits. On the water machine, once the machines are coming off the line, we have those in July, we're going to start using those to do longer term studies. So we'll do minimum 6-month studies and probably 9 to 12 months. And in those studies, we're looking at epigenetic panels. We're looking at telomeres to see if we're lengthening telomeres. We're looking at overall mitochondrial function. We've seen phenomenal results with X2O just from people drinking one glass, but now we want to track this over a period of time. I'm also involved in some incredibly exciting research that I'm going to share at the October conference, because I've discovered yet another longevity mystery in our friends, the lobster. So, of course, we have a documentary that's going to be coming out on this discovery that I made about how the living codes of light in lobsters, those mathematical codes, are found in the book of Genesis. But I've unraveled another code in lobsters that show the connection between the tree of life and how the cells of lobsters don't age. It's absolute miracle. And it's God's way of communicating with us through the Holy Bible and through nature. But there's also another thing that I've discovered in lobsters that is, I believe, directly applicable to human beings. That is yet another way lobsters defeat aging. So we're doing that research now, and I'm really looking forward to sharing that at conference. And yeah, I think I'm getting another patent on that, by the way. The patent's been filed. I think it'll be issued shortly.
Oh, I can't wait to learn more about that. I may lightning round a couple of questions here. So one came up. This is something that, I learned the answer to, but it's around what's in the patch. It's not, putting chemicals in or anything transdermal.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about the process of how it activates versus
Yeah. The
transdermally
quick answer
infuses.
is that, quick answer is that the patches are non-transdermal. They're stimulating the skin with low levels of light. They contain organic materials. They're stereoisomers of sugars and amino acids that are processed in a very specific way, so they will stimulate the skin with light to get these desirable effects.
So a couple little housekeeping questions, and then I'm going to kind of tee up a final one for you. But yes, this will be posted. This webinar is going to be reposted, rebroadcast at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today. It'll also be available in the back office for continued watching. And with that, David, there's more questions that keep coming up on Celergize, on the X2O water technology. Can you talk about why you're so excited to have, here shortly in the coming next few months, all of these products there together out having this kind of synergistic effect?
Yeah, what's incredible is that with X39 and our other patches, they work immediately. And that's kind of been the hallmark of Lifewave, that other companies didn't have that they couldn't see immediate effects. And the water machine is taking this yet to another level. So what we see is this incredible synergy where you can take Celergize, use water as the delivery method, release the water by itself, of course, releases light into the body, and we see measurable changes in 15 seconds when people drink this water. So, and many of the reasons why people may not feel the patches is because they're dehydrated. So, in other words, you drink the water, you've got all the nutrients you need in Celergize, you apply X39 or another patch, and now you get this phenomenal synergy where now people can feel this rush of energy going through their body. And that means that they're going to feel better, incredible improvements in cognition, and this is going to be absolutely phenomenal for people's health, as well as what this is going to do for our business.
And this is such an exciting year, such incredible innovations that are coming out. So many comments here, David, saying thank you for the amount of science and information that you provide, all the validity, the credibility that it brings to these incredible products. I learned so much from all of these as well. I can't wait for these new products to be out. So again, everyone, in the next few months, we're going to have all of these incredible products working together in addition to those that are already there. David, again, thank you for continuing to keep us on the forefront of health and wellness for all these incredible discoveries that you bring to the world.
Thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. And this is such an incredible mission that we're on as a company. And as you know, there are benefits that we've seen not only with X39, but also the water technology as well. And I wish we could tell everybody the truth about some of the things that are really going on and how they can benefit from this, but that would get involved with making claims that we can't make. But this is to say that when we come out with X2O and people are using it with X39, they're going to see effects they've never seen before at all with any other product in an incredibly positive way. And together we're going to change the world by infusing people's bodies with light. And that's exactly what this world needs now.
It certainly does. And I'm so proud to be a part of it and to join Lifewave and to help forward your vision. I know we all are. And these truly are, to echo the statement from earlier from a brand partner, these truly are technology-based miracles. Thank you for bringing them to market.
Thank you, Wayne. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, everyone, for being on. Have a great day. See you next time.